Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome to the Office 365 or Microsoft 365 roadmap. We have the whole team here today. So, welcome. We're going to go through updates quickly. I think we only have about 30, so we'll get through them, give you guys some time back in your day. So, Tom, why don't you kick us off and
Sure.
tell us what you're excited about this week?
So there's an entry in there which I've been kind of waiting for because who doesn't need another migration in their life? Microsoft Stream, IT admin led migration tool to move videos from Microsoft Stream Classic to New Stream on SharePoint. So this migration tool will help admins migrate video and audio files and related metadata from Stream Classic to New Stream on SharePoint. With this tool, admins can select some or all video and audio files in Stream Classic and then move them to SharePoint folders, SharePoint site collections, or specific OneDrive folders. We expect the migration tool to start rolling out under public preview in late August and to GA in November. I know they've been talking about the fact that you're going to need to migrate off of Classic Stream, but to date, they had never given you any good way to do this. I'm looking forward to seeing this because, yeah, we have to migrate some people off Classic Stream to Stream on SharePoint.
It's been a
So,
good while since you've worked on a migration project, so.
oh no, I'm in the middle of a migration. I'm in the middle of two migration projects right now. So, third one, what the heck?
So on your resume, can you put I'm Tom the migrator?
No, no, I
Tom
don't want,
Tom, the
no,
migration man.
no, I don't want to do migrations anymore because the root word of migration is migraine. I just don't want to deal with it.
That's funny. That is funny.
So,
Um,
that's the one that caught my eye today.
well, cool. Well, alrighty. Well, how about you, Tamara? What are you loving?
There's two, both having to do with forms. So forms, distribute your forms by using Teams as a new channel. So form users can directly share their polls in their Teams chat and channels right within forms for the web. Now, this is coming out in July and it's only for worldwide. So it's for the commercial instance, but you'll be able to share it with a particular channel. So it's just another way of narrowing down your audience for the form without having to put in all the individual email addresses. And then we have Microsoft Teams and Forms, the ranking poll. The ranking question type is being added to the poll app within Microsoft Teams. So meeting owners can easily create and launch ranking polls to increase engagement and collect input from their meeting attendees as well as share the results live. Now that's coming out in September and that's coming to worldwide and GCC.
That's a good one. I like that. The polls, I think, for ranking and word cloud and different things like that are actually better than I think the question polls. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited for that. How about you, Adam? What do you have?
I'll start with two. There's another one that I find interesting, but we'll see if anyone else talks about it. Going through the two that I did highlight and thought were kind of interesting is first and foremost Microsoft 365 Admin Center Exchange Server software updates. So this is basically a report that you're going to be able to pull from Office 365 that gives you details about your on-premise Exchange server. So I see this as actually pretty important. Most even medium-sized companies probably have an on-prem Exchange server that they still run. There's a lot of reasons for this, but first and foremost above them, if you have an Active Directory and you're doing on-premise sync, you almost certainly have an Exchange server as well. There's implications about object management, manipulation, and stuff that you need that, let alone just having the hybrid server for like SMTP relaying and stuff like that, which a lot of companies still need and is not doable in 365. But this also has kind of been a thorn in Microsoft's side for a bit. You have people that will migrate to 365 and then not take the security and uptick of their Exchange as seriously as they probably should. And there's been multiple, for instance, like 0-day exploits that have come out that have targeted Exchange servers, in the last several years. And one of the big areas that you hear Microsoft talk about security concerns is you have people that are essentially running a hybrid on-premise Exchange server primarily just so that they can have a hybrid server running with 365 and not really maintaining it. These zero-day exploits come out, and there's just this huge vulnerability inside of the users or their organization's environment. So having a report that just details where you stand, if you still need upgrades, stuff like that, just makes getting to that information easier. So I see it as a pretty big win. The second thing that I wanted to point out is also a mail thing, but something that I thought was kind of cool. You're basically going to have the addition of shared mailbox to the mailbox usage report, which again is just a report that you can pull as an admin from the 365 Admin Center that shows you how the mailboxes are being used, how often they're being consumed, stuff like that. Prior to this, you basically didn't have the ability to go through and see information on shared mailboxes. You had to kind of try to get that data another way. So just having that in there makes it easier to consume as a whole.
Awesome. Well, I found a couple in here for education that I think is good if you're in the education space and waiting for it. So Microsoft Teams open LMS integration. So with LMS, you're going to be able to have more integration. So you're going to be able to see recordings of classes and attendance reports in LMS systems. There's also integration with an LMS system called Brightspace. So if your kids are using an application called Brightspace, I do know as a parent, when I have 22 different systems that are using Teams, is just one of them. So it's like, which system are we in now? I actually go log into all of my kids' systems. Each teacher uses something different. So these integration points just make my heart happy. So Brightspace is next on the list. Open LMS integration, that's going to be for course rosters, schedule management, different things like that. That just makes things easier. And then recordings and attendance and Brightspace. So those are three things coming in the Teams classroom experience. That's great. That's summer developments. Those look like they're going to be coming out in July. So that's perfect. Get it out in July, be using it by August. So hopefully that's how that will work out for the schools. So anybody want to cover the Teams room stuff? There were a couple of things with Teams rooms that came out as well.
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I had them marked. Never mind. Go ahead, Tom.
I've got to go find them now. Okay, so Microsoft Teams, casting from Teams desktop client to Microsoft Teams room. So for quick ad hoc sessions that don't require setting up a formal meeting, people can use Teams casting to wirelessly connect to a Teams room and display content from the Teams desktop client. Windows and Mac. Users can broadcast their screen and cast content stored locally on their computer and accessible via Office 365. That's coming in August, and that's actually targeted for GCC High. And then trying to find the other one. I don't know where the other one is that you were talking about.
Oh, it's a pin and hide the room video for Teams rooms. So users
it's further
to
up. Okay.
pin and hide it so they can control for the roster. They can greater personalize it, hide videos if it's going to be distracting, different things like that. And that's coming to GCC High in August. So again, just Teams room features catching up in the GCC High space. So those are the things coming to Teams rooms there. Other
There's
than
also
that,
one other. I was going to say there's one other Teams one which is interesting. Usability improvements for in-meeting notifications. So they explain it as simplifying the in-meeting notification displays where users are informed about what they need to know or do without causing unnecessary distraction. I saw a picture of it, and basically instead of things popping up down at the side and then up here and the whole bit, it's pretty much like a list of things at the top center of your screen that tells you, poor network quality, or, there's a chat out there, something like that. So it's keeping everything within a central area, and it's easier just to look at it, click the X and get it off your list, get it off your list, get it off your list. So that's coming in August, and that's coming to the entire spectrum, worldwide, GCC, GCC High, and DoD.
There was one in there that I'll mention that I thought Jen will laugh when I say this one just because it harkens back to our Rackspace days.
Oh, I know which one.
But they are doing in development for Whiteboard a Net Promoter Score survey. If you don't know what Net Promoter Score is, it's a general idea inside of business that you ask someone how likely they are to refer your services to a friend or family on a scale of 1 to 10. And it's considered a 9 or 10 is what they call promoter. A 7 or 8 is essentially considered neutral, and anything below a 7 is considered bad. And so the idea is, if what you work towards is to get as many promoters as possible, so get as many people to reply back with a 9 or 10 saying they would recommend you, that is a wonderful mechanism to guide how well you're doing in customer support. Well, that survey is coming to Whiteboard, so you'll basically have the ability to provide feedback using that survey to Whiteboard, web, Teams, and Windows app. And basically you'll be able to send the survey out and control what users have access to it. Reading this, it was a little hard to tell. It almost sounds like this is something that you could do internally to your own users as necessarily to external users. So I don't know exactly how that would meet. But again, this was a mechanism that Rackspace cared a ton about back in the day. So Jen and I know all about Net Promoter Score, so I giggled when I saw it on the roadmap.
As did I. All right, well, I think that takes us over to rolling out. So these are the features that should be hitting a tenant near you soon, potentially, depending on your tenant. So Tamara, you want to take us out?
Sure. SharePoint updated site logo management. So with this update, Microsoft is simplifying where you go to manage the site logo by centralizing it in the change the look header experience. And this is rolling out to everybody worldwide, GCC, GCC High, and DoD in this month. So look for it in a tenant near you.
How about you, Tom?
So Viva Insight, inline suggestions available while composing an email or meeting invitation in Outlook on the web. So they explain it as, while composing an email or a web invitation Outlook on the web, users will see inline suggestions from Microsoft Viva Insights to help improve productivity and well-being. These complement the inline suggestions they already see when reading emails and meeting invites. So I'm assuming this is, hey, person, you just sent an email at 7 o'clock at night. You really sure you want to do that and have people expect that they should reply to you by 8 o'clock that night? Certain things like that, I believe, are what's coming into play. Or you've made a meeting that's kind of outside of normal work hours. Yeah, probably not a great idea. That's rolling out this month, and it's for worldwide. So look for it in a client near you.
So connected, or Microsoft Teams Connect shared channels. So Teams Connect shared channels makes collaborating with those inside and outside of your organization much easier. So multiple organizations can work together in a shared space, have conversations, schedule a meeting, basically use Teams, collaborate, and work on apps without ever switching tenants in a secure, governable, and compliant environment. So that's going to be a way for us to all use Teams together securely. That's supposed to be rolling out. No shocker that that's rolling out to worldwide and GCC. So we'll kind of see how that goes, see what confusion that brings, see how well that works. So I've been in many situations where that works and doesn't work. So we'll see.
I have 2 that's kind of 4. There's 3 that I'm going to lump together. There's one other one that I think is worth mentioning. So coming out to GCC High, DoD, and GCC is the ability in Teams to start a chat with distribution groups, mail-enabled security groups, and Office 365 groups. I just kind of like this feature. My team in particular, while we have team chats that we do in channels, we keep that pretty official. We keep that pretty by the letter and what's going on specifically with stuff for the customer, because we see it as a little permanent. And we chat just in chat rooms or in chats together for a lot more impersonal stuff. So we have a chat going on with everyone on my team where we just chat throughout the day. And customer, maybe you'll go into the team and put that in the channel. But right now, when you go through and do that, you're just basically adding in people to this giant chat list. So having the ability to go through and manage them by just a distribution list or a 365 group, a security group, kind of a cool concept and something that will be easier for our friends in the government space. And then I'm going to lump these three together. We have Microsoft 365.
Before you go there,
sure.
Before you go there, one thing we should talk about with that mail-enabled security groups, 065 groups, and distribution lists is that the limit for a group chat is still 250 people. So even if your group is over 250 people, I don't know how they're going to handle that.
Yeah, I would imagine it would either just go to 250 people or it would give you an error and not let it send out.
I think it's going to go and 251 just ain't going to be added.
Yeah, that's kind of what I assume too. And you probably don't have the ability to control who the 251st person is. So just be a certain amount of your users won't get it. But yeah. Although let's be real, you probably shouldn't be doing a chat with 250 people. Like at that point, put them in a team. Like you probably don't need an informal chat to 250 people. At that point, like put it in a team, send a message that way to people, or send out an email. Yeah, so the other ones, like I said, I'm going to group these together. We have Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, Insider Risk Management, General Security Policy Violations. So what this basically means is it's going through and looking for stuff like potentially malicious or inadvertent insider risk, IP theft, security and policy violations, things like that. They actually have this in 3 different versions that are all enrolling out right now. They have it just for the general one for your organization as a whole. You can also do it for priority users. So you go through and say, all right, these specific users I want you to be concerned about with this security policy violations. Or you can have it with departing users. So specifically going through and paying attention to users who are going to be leaving the organization. Again, the idea with this is doing stuff like IP theft and security and policy violations. It's just to make sure that, like, negative behavior isn't happening. And it's just giving you the ability to target that at certain users if you want to.
Cool. All right. Does anyone else have anything, or should we move to launched? All right. Tom, you want to start us out, potentially finish us in launched? Because there are 3.
Launch,
so
yeah,
we'll see what's going on there.
Oh gosh, which one should I choose? Microsoft Teams, join a team by digital code. So this is basically going to enable you to just use digital code to sign into a meeting that you have out in Teams. Makes it a little easier if you're on a phone or stuff like that. That is launched this month to Teams, GCC and worldwide. So not quite to GCC High and DoD yet, but hopefully you may get there.
Cool. Who wants? I'm going to give the next 2 to Adam. They seem admin-y.
The next 2 are pretty easy. You'll be going through and getting sync admin reports if you're using Mac operating system for OneDrive. So for users that are doing that, it will go through and tell you, hey, we tried to sync but had an error, things like that. This will just be nice for organizations that actually do have desktop Macs or Macs that their users are using. Just give you a better idea if there's problems going on with what's happening with OneDrive. And the second one is for Windows 365. Quick refresher, Windows 365 is the idea that you're getting like a Windows machine through a browser, but they're basically going to have the ability to support nested virtualization for Linux and Android subsystems. So if you're wanting to run Linux or Android as sub operations inside of your Windows 365 option, you'll have the ability to do that.
Oh. All right, well, that takes us through launched. We do have 2 in canceled. One of them is, I would call not even a quality of life, a delighter that is canceled, and that is the 2x2 video gallery for web meetings in Safari for GCC High and DoD. That is getting canceled and removed from the public roadmap. Now it can show 4 participants. You're stuck with 4 for a while. You're not going to get a 2x2. So that's just canceled and removed. It doesn't say anything's coming. So that I would classify as a delighter. So it's just not coming now. The other one I would classify as more of a maybe an annoyance if you were waiting for something here. So this was Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, multiple passwordless phone sign-ins for accounts and iOS devices. So this roadmap has been canceled, and it may be revisited in the future, but basically they're canceling it and saying no updates. Users can enable passwordless phone sign-in accounts for their iOS devices. Previously, there was a limit of one passwordless phone sign-in account per device, but we were going to remove that limitation. So basically, they were saying we had on the roadmap the ability to have multiple passwordless sign-in options per iOS device, and that's what they had on the roadmap. They're removing that item from the roadmap, and they may bring it back later. So that is coming canceled, not on the roadmap
I imagine
anymore.
it's a pretty niche need to need multiple passwordless accounts on your cell phone. Like realistically, you probably have your user account that's passwordless, and any of the other accounts, like probably you don't need email on your phone from. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I imagine if you needed that feature, you probably really needed that feature. So if you're upset about that feature
Fair.
being gone, you're probably really upset about that feature being gone. If you're not upset about that feature being gone, you probably didn't even know you needed that feature. So it's probably one of those. So those are our updates for the week. I don't think there is anything else that we have. Nothing big going on. A pretty clean roadmap. So exciting,
I
exciting
must
stuff.
admit, Adam did not touch on one item that I thought he would be all over, and that was the gaming support on the side navigation for Edge. I'm looking at that going, yep, that's Adam. He can
But
game now.
wasn't it
I
talking
don't
about
use
like
Edge,
helping
so
you
it's
play
fine.
solitaire and stuff
I know.
like that?
It was just like,
he doesn't
really,
play
people?
those games. He plays like real games. He doesn't play.
I play the nerdy games. I play the games that you have to have no life to play, Tom. Come on now.
Okay, sorry. So I have a life if I play solitaire? Yes.
I like solitaire. But yeah, Adam plays games that can you even use a regular computer to play? No, you have to have the special, like, takes up half your room computer to play.
I will give a special shout out to Space Pinball from back with Windows XP. That game was amazing.
That was a cool game. Yes.
What was that one? Minesweeper? That I still don't even know how you played, and like things blew up, and that's all I remember. You hit buttons and things. I still don't know the reason of the game or how you'd win it.
I played a lot of Minesweeper back in high school when you're.
Wasn't there also a flight simulator in Excel at one point?
Yep.
Never did figure that one out.
You can still find pictures of people who went like hardcore on like Microsoft Flight Simulator 95, where they have like 12 CRT monitors set up to try to emulate a screen.
And they've got all the pedals on the floor and the whole controller to go back and forth.
So this is just extra information for the roadmap that doesn't necessarily apply to
have anything to do for the roadmap.
Nostalgic tour of past games available. So I think that's everything we had to cover.
Thank you for joining us.
All you have a great
week. All
week.
right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.